All right, so let's get into our hot seat at the Bald Duo. Let's get our man Brett on here. Where are you, Brett? Let me find you, and I'll bring you on if you're ready with mic and camera. It may ask your permission. There he is, ready to go. Look at him. What's up, buddy? How are you, man?
How's it going?
Good to see you.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Let me, if somebody is Tim here or maybe Angie, could you post the link to Brett's, what is it called? Feedback forum, unless you have it handy, Brett. You have it up in front of you?
I do, yeah.
Cool. Somebody could, Lindsay, if anybody has that. So just tell us, like, basically, there we go. Pretend we know nothing and tell us about the product, the market, basically everything. I was just trying to get Mike to tell me, and and where you're stuck on the copy, how we can help.
Sure. And everyone's responses this week have been mind-blowing, so I got to digest all those.
Awesome.
Yeah, so basically I've been working with this startup for about 7 years called Storytelling for Entrepreneurs. So Lynn, who's the founder, created an online course called Create Your Story from Scratch. So it's like a 10-module course. The target audience is new founders and new entrepreneurs that are kind of in the beginning couple years of their startups. They need to get press, they need to get funding, they need to get people in the team, they need buy-in from just general communication. So that's kind of the audience we're speaking to. The course is great. We've had a bunch of beta testers that love it. So we're creating a sales page, 0 budget, so no Facebook ads yet. So the first round will be kind of warm leads from social media and LinkedIn, like thought leadership and expertise, and Lynn's network. And then eventually we'll redo it again and then hopefully a budget for Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and all that.
Okay, great. So it's a course that's $997. Potential deal for $500 for the first testers. Yeah, friend rate. Okay, cool. Yeah, highly recommend that if you haven't decided that already, Brett. Like, I love a pilot, and just explain to people, why they're going to get the best deal as a founding member is a great term to use. And say, look, we know the stuff's effective. We've been doing it with clients, and this is the first time we want to teach it to a group. And so you'll never get more feedback and personal attention than you will during this. And for you, and what we want and we're going to give you a special price. And what we want mostly in exchange is to help you see results and let us brag about your results. So be our best case studies. And people are like, great, sounds legit. And if they're already interested, that makes it kind of a no-brainer for them.
So we did like a beta round last year. So we had about 10 people in it.
Great. How did that go?
It went well. So we got, it's a tough story because like you can't get the most testimonials, but it's not 2 years later where they've gotten tons of funding yet. They all love it. They've fine-tuned their story. A couple of people figured out the story for their business. So we do have some good testimonials, but not as like heavy hitting. Yeah. But we're going to record video in the coming couple months with those people.
Who's been giving you great feedback in the thread here? Let me see. Josh, Finn, they got these ambassadors.
Yeah, Saba was wild. She like rewrote everything.
Who did?
Saba Karimi.
Oh, Saba. Yeah. Awesome.
She did it awesome. I have to like absorb everything she wrote.
Great. Brad. Awesome. Brad. Saba. Yeah, man. Superstars. Scott McKinstry, the story guy. By the way, I don't know if you've seen, Scott wrote a column for us for years called Story Sells on the Copy Chief blog. That's exactly about this. Here's what I know about, Saba's not here. Can get Angie on. I want to make sure I get her thoughts too. But we did a workshop last year, Brett, called Michael Haig. Do you know who Michael Haig is? He's like the Hollywood script story advisor. Like Will Smith keeps him on payroll he reviews every script before Will Smith goes into production and these kinds of things. And he's written some great books about story. He's almost like another Bob McKee, if you know Bob McKee, who wrote Story. And so Michael and I did a story, basically this similar thing, you know, storytelling for marketing, for copywriters, for entrepreneurs. And we did well with it, but I knew going in it was going to be a tough sell because it's hard to know that exactly how that leads to money,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for entrepreneurs. And at least in my mind, my big challenge was, okay, if our workshop was $4,000 for 2 days, and we worked with them a little before and a little bit after. And it was just about develop your brand story, your signature story, we called it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we gave them frameworks and all that. But I kept thinking, man, the struggle is if someone's got $5,000 they can invest, and it's either let me get my signature story down or this, you know, testing a new Facebook ad. They're probably going to want that more immediate money and we're always after the new customers, right? The new sales. And so have you found any of that when you try to position this and have people go, it sounds great, they're really interested, but it's hard for them to prioritize story over other things?
Yeah, 100%. I liked what Saba said, kind of shifting the pain points towards the money versus the elements of story. Because it's definitely kind of an airy, floaty thing. So it's harder for people to grapple with the monetary results.
And how is your partner about that? Is she okay? I mean,
It's a he. Everyone thinks
it's a he. Sorry about
Lynn, yeah.
Lynn,
Sorry, what's your
sorry,
question?
And so he's comfortable. Is he an entrepreneur as well?
Oh, yeah, he's like a 20-year entrepreneur.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Cool.
So he spoke on this topic at South by Southwest and sold out 2 events. Like people love it. People kept coming. So it's just selling that concept.
Right. And so how do you guys position the end result? What are you going to have when you come out of this?
So he kind of uses his little phrase as story is your Swiss Army knife for entrepreneurship. So you can use it for getting press, getting funding, convincing your partners that what you're doing is right, getting new team members. So it's kind of the all-around tool that moves your business forward.
I like that. That's really cool. Awesome. All right, great. And so anybody there who's reading over, let's take a look at what you've got. Just click on the ad here.
Probably sucks. It's my first long-form sales letter.
Nah, dude. We all start in the same place. Okay.
Oh, sorry, that's the website. I think there's a Google Doc that has more of that. If you go back to the.
All right, but is this how the page looks with the?
No, this is like the brand website, which is also
gotcha.
super old. So you can go to.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I got too many screens open here, man. 1 second.
I think at the top of my post there's a Google Doc.
Okay. Yep.
Easier reading.
Perfect. Let me tell Google everything's okay.
We're still designing, so this is just my draft format.
Sure, man. And let me probably bring this up. I'm gonna bring on Angie. Angie, are you cool to come on? And since you've been in the thread, and how about our buddy Dean? Is Dean ready to come on? Dean Edelson, who's another bald, beautiful guy with a lot of story writing experience. Hi, Angie.
Hi.
Did I embarrass you earlier? We're talking about you endlessly.
Well, speaking of stories, that was a very hard story for me to tell. And I've been struggling for months to actually put that down, and then wrestling even more to actually press go on like making it live and putting myself out there for judgment. But I have to say that this is the most powerful response I've gotten from anything I've ever written. Like people are writing into me in droves like, oh my God.
In his story, yeah. And I gotta say, I thought it was skillful, the headline. I was a little cringy when I read that. I was like, oh my God, like Angie smoked crack and now she's gonna reveal this. And like, you know, that was what I took from the headline. And it forced me to read to find out, is my worst fear true, that you you know, look, I mean, at that point, like, who cares what you had to overcome? But I was like, wow, I didn't hear the crack story, you know. I'm glad there was only a broken crack pipe in the bad
Yeah, I was
hotel.
gonna say, yeah. Spoiler: I did not smoke crack. There was a crack pipe out of my horrible hotel room that I was trying to survive. So,
All right, you've reviewed this with Brett. What are you seeing in the copy that could help?
well, I don't. Since I wrote, have you had a chance to take more of a story aspect, or are you still working on that, Brett?
And this is not like a rush thing. I have a month to work on this.
Okay.
I've been swamped with client work all week, so I'm gonna review everyone's stuff this weekend. But I mean, it's what a lot of people say. It's always that, like, you can teach people stuff and you forget to do it yourself. So I should probably insert it at the top.
Absolutely. And I mean, that was the comment that I left for him, Kevin, was like, if you're teaching story, can you use your framework that you teach to sell this? Like, can you tell a story? And I think I used the phrase eat your own cooking, which is a Jeff-ism, because I don't know if you know much about product launch formula, but we basically do the same thing. We use the formula we teach to sell the formula we teach. And we point out to people that, like, you're watching the formula right here. And this is why it works so well. So if you've put this into evidence, especially since it sounds like you ran the beta of the course and you're getting these rave reviews, then, man, is there anybody there that would let you tell their story?
Well, so that's the hard thing. So it was beta, but as I mentioned earlier, like, it's hard to get quantifiable results within like 6 months after that. Like, people were like, oh my God, I figured out the story for my business. But that's not as hard hitting as, like, my story got me $1 million.
Right. So they're not like immediately putting it into an ad campaign and seeing an increasing conversions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel you. That is the challenge.
Like, the energy is, like I was saying, he had a talk at South by, and there was like a 100-person line at the door. They opened up a second talk, so people are down for it.
Yeah. By the way, this looks great. I think you did a great job. This by no means sucks. I did a very similar thing when I pitched my workshop. Bunch of photos of people talking about how story is the key to things. I agree though with the feedback you're getting. Open with a story, and I think that's a great story, dude. Dramatize that story of his talk at South by and the reaction it got, and have a lot of fun with that, as if I was reading about it in Rolling Stone. Right? Like, you know, wow, what was this event and why did people freak out like this? And then start layering on the proof. And it's like, wow, now I can get that same thing, but even more coached, right? And more drawn out and more intense. Like, awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, when telling that story and leading in with it being blind and then getting people hooked instead of revealing right off the top that it's about your story. Because there are a lot of products out there that are about your story, and you've seen that there's a lot of interest about it, but that also means that there's a lot of competition here too. So if you can hook them in, tell them a story, get them really interested with these lines out the door by Southwest, you know, people are begging for this info, and we taught this, here's some reviews, and it's all about creating your story, and your story is important because XYZ. Yeah.
Awesome.
Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yeah, that's great. I guess my quick question is it powerful to use Lynn's own story first person, or is it better to use like another person's story?
Can you give me a high level recap of Lynn's story?
Just the one we were just talking about, the
South by story. Yeah.
I mean, he has his own story too, but it sounds like that's the one that hooked you guys, so it has larger credibility.
Right. Yeah, I think it's fine to use his story and that story as a story. You know, it's all kind of how you frame it. It's like, here's an example of how to use a story to credentialize an offer, a product. And it's not just about you telling your own personal gut-wrenching story or whatever. It's about using story to compel. And by the way, you know, one thing you could even play with, and it's been on my mind, you know, there was just this big story about Chase investing a bunch of money into this AI that writes copy. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yes, I said that to Lynn. I was like, I'm going to be out of business soon.
Well, the thing about that to me is that it's not writing story copy. And I would say across the industry, people know that story is what sells, story is what compels, story is what gets people to sit up and pay attention. It's what we react to. And it's going to be, it's someday, of course, AI will take over completely and we'll all be choked to death by our watches, you know, but, you know, you could say that in a time when the headlines are that AI is now writing, outperforming writers. There's one place that AI still can't compete, and that's with, you know, you need to get information across in a way that feels very human, and that's to do it with story and blah blah blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could, it's to me, it's more about, do you write the story really well, which I know you're gonna, because you're a novelist and highly capable of writing great story. And then what happens after that? Where does that transition me into this offer and make me feel like, wow, this spoke to me? You know what we want them thinking when they read that opening story is, I want to be able to do this in my business. I just read a quick, cool story that I couldn't look away from. And as a result, I need to know everything about what they're offering me here.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
So that'd be the approach. And also, of course, you could take other people's stories. It could be it'd be the ultimate, man. If like somebody who was in that room took it and did something amazing with it. If you had that like case study and could tell that story, obviously, like that's another cool way to use that story. Get Lynn's expertise across from the fact that he created that hullabaloo, but more personally and relatable. What did somebody who was actually in that room and heard his advice turn around and do with it that your customer would love to do with it?
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to have like X statistics or Y opens or, you know, Z revenue to be able to draw someone down the path and let them. It sounds like a little bit manipulative, but if you frame something, a fact, the right way, you can let people draw their own conclusions from the info that you've presented.
100%.
So if you look for results that people have done, maybe they haven't published, maybe they haven't made sales off of it, but maybe they had like a PR blitz that got them national media attention from their story. That's a fantastic result. There are a lot of people that are looking for PR and they don't necessarily understand the impact of, you know, bottom line sales revenue from PR, but they understand PR. Does that make sense? This example that I'm using. So it's like, it's use the data that you have instead of looking for some sort of specific number to fit into a specific narrative. Find those stories that you already have from the people that have taken this workshop and see what you can dig out of that in terms of results that you can share with people. And if you have those stories and you want to share them in the thread, happy to help you do that.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, I'm going to mention one more thing that because you're going to a warm audience here, sometimes, as Carlton says, just sell the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And an example of that is, as I've mentioned, I'm a fan of the Harmon brothers. I've been watching all the stuff they've been doing. I just got this email the other day and like, I'm definitely buying this. Subject line, Kevin, want my help on your next video ad. I want to personally help you with your next ad campaign. Seriously, I'm doing something I've never done and taking a limited number of people to be part of an exciting 10-day live online workshop that could bring your sales to a new level. And since you're a student of Make Your Ads Funny, I'm offering you a big discount off the price. So essentially, Daniel Harmon will coach you for 10 days to come up with a funny ad and use it in your business. And it's like $500 or something ridiculous, right? And I'm like, please, like, how fast do I put money into this?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was, I mean, that's all it took for me was like, just sell the damn thing, you know? And if they're already fans and they're aware and you know that you have a segment of your list that wants to have, you know, use story, the first wave would be, here's what's happening. Are you in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that conversation came up several times this week, and it's funny how this always happens, Kevin. It's like, if it's a warm audience, you can pretty much assume 5 to 10% of people are always going to be in what you have to offer because they're really big fans. 5 to 10% of people are never going to buy what you have to offer, just never. Doesn't mean they hate you or anything, they just don't buy it. And then everybody else falls somewhere in between. So like, if you make that first blitz about capturing those fans.
So are you saying, is that straight email to sales page? I mean, straight email to like the shopping cart since I already know Lynn, or am I making this bit smaller?
I think this actually did go to so here's what they did. You know, then it goes to not so long, but you know, here's all more details, and here's getting into all the proof about how effective it is, and all that stuff.
And
This
those
is
are just
basically
case
just all
studies.
proof and examples. And then I was just like, just tell me the damn price.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I mean that's the good thing about the 5 to 10% of people that are always going to be big fans. They don't need a whole big sales production.
Mhm.
Big sales production is for the colder, more resistant audience, and that's so.
yeah,
Yeah.
we sold ours out, like I said, 4K, 12 people, with a few emails and a short sales page. So just here's what's up. So, and again, you know, another cool thing, Brett, is like if you guys are small enough and have the resources to be able to answer questions and invite dialogue, hey, any questions, hit reply and let me know. I want to make sure if this is right for you that I help you decide. And if you can answer those emails, all the better. That's where a lot of our sales come from on high ticket stuff.
Cool.
All right.
Help it all.
No, it's super helpful. Yeah, and I got my
Cool.
brains churning.
All right, man. Well, let us see the progress in the thread there. Thanks for coming on and doing this. I really appreciate you putting it out there, letting us help, and let us know how it goes.
Yeah, thanks for helping.
Yeah. Angie, thank you so much. Again, you're an inspiration, not only for your coaching ability, but you're so organized. You literally have nothing on your calendar. That's
Yeah,
that's
that's a fun story too, because like my boyfriend built this wonderful calendar for me, and I had this idea that I was going to get super organized, and then when I looked at what the work is of like literally writing out all of the dates on here, let alone checking on my calendar for what's planned for all of those dates, and then coming back and having to change shit.
right. And having it over your shoulder where everybody can see it. That's way too much pressure for me, man.
Yeah, so now it's just a calendar that I haven't quite figured out what to do with, but it's manually like hooked
Yeah.
onto the wall, so it ain't going anywhere.
Good luck. Get a curtain or something. All right,
That'll be
everybody.
my show.
Yeah. Showtime.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.